Good Monday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. Happening right now in Buffalo, the city is asking people to limit laundry, dishwashing, and other heavy water chores today because the wastewater collection system is experiencing very high flows. The city of Buffalo says more than 4 inches of rain fell in about an hour. In downtown Buffalo, debris could be seen on the road. However, several businesses told KARE 11 they did not experience any flooding. Just south of downtown, flooding could be seen off of Highway 25, even cutting off some residents from their homes. The city of Buffalo also closed the Sturgis Beach area and fish docks while testing the water quality. Those lab results will be back sometime this week. Right now, people across the Twin Cities Metro are waking up to another day of cleanup following Saturday night's severe storms. Those storms knocking out power for around 50,000 customers. And one of the hardest hit areas was 40 minutes west of Minneapolis. Audrey Russo takes us now to Waconia with a look at some of the damage she's seeing this morning.
We're on day 2 of cleanup efforts out here on the north side of Lake Waconia, and you can see some of these damaged trees are already being chopped down into logs, organized a little bit more neatly. Just a little piece of the chaos that swept through this area. Take a look across the street. Obviously, there is still a lot of cleanup work to do. You can see this mighty tree felled on this person's yard, the roots ripped out of the ground like a toothpick. This is the result of 4 tornadoes that came through this area Saturday night into Sunday. That's according to the National Weather Service. Now, we reached out to emergency management officials in both Hennepin and Carver County. They say that even though there's a lot of damage that looks like this, looks pretty serious, they actually have no injuries reported as a result of these storms. We actually spoke to some neighbors who credit the fact that there are no injuries to the emergency alerting system. They tell us that they got that alert on their phones that a tornado was headed their way just after midnight on Sunday. One neighbor tells us that he actually ran down into his basement and hunkered down for about 20 minutes while the storm rolled through.
We all know what it sounds like with a wind coming up against your windows and how you feel that, but usually it comes and goes like with gusts, and this was just sustained. And sustained, it got a little bit stronger and stronger and stronger. So I figured that was time to head down.
Now, the National Weather Service tells us that there were 2 EF1 tornadoes and 2 EF0 tornadoes. Now, those are the weaker classifications of tornadoes, and you can still see all of the damage that they did. In fact, the National Weather Service actually says that one of the EF1 tornadoes that came through here brought gusts of wind up to 95 miles an hour. Back to you.
Just moments ago, we learned St. Paul's Xcel Energy Center officially has a new name. Minnesota Sports and Entertainment announcing that the home of the Minnesota Wild will officially be named the Grand Casino Arena. This is under a new 14-year naming rights partnership. All of the arena's signage will be replaced before the start of the 2025-2026 NHL regular season. New video this morning of the procession for 2 fallen firefighters who were shot and killed during an ambush on a mountain in Idaho on Sunday. This happened in Coeur d'Alene, about 30 minutes outside of Spokane, as crews were responding to a brush fire that authorities say was set intentionally by the shooter. That shooter, according to the sheriff's office, was found dead overnight with a gun near him. Officials say a man started to fire around 3:30 our time on Sunday and then started shooting when firefighters arrived, forcing the entire area to shelter in place for about 6 hours.
So we have currently 1 dead shooter. Based on the preliminary investigation that was being conducted, keep in mind we had a fire that was rapidly it was approaching the body, so we had to scoop up that body, and we had to transport that body to a different location. But based on the preliminary information, we believe that is the only shooter that was on that mountain at that time.
Now, the names of the 2 firefighters killed have not been released. 1 other firefighter is fighting for their life right now in the hospital. A look from our nation's capital this morning, where right now lawmakers are starting debate over the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. The senators just started a process to offer unlimited amendments before a final vote. Now, Republican leadership is trying to steer the legislation through the Senate before a self-imposed July 4th deadline. Alice Barr is on Capitol Hill with the very latest.
Hi there. While all but 2 Senate Republicans backed the bill in a procedural vote over the weekend, Democrats are doing everything they can to slow it down, forcing the Senate clerk to spend 16 hours reading the full text out loud, looking to make every detail public. Today, one big debate on President Trump's massive domestic policy package known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. This morning, senators starting a vote-a-rama when they can offer unlimited amendments to change the bill before a vote on final passage. Democrats making their objections clear late into the night.
This legislation is the most significant attack on the health care needs of the American people in our country's history.
The bill includes cuts to programs like Medicaid that the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates would cost more than 11 million Americans their health care. Republicans argue changes like new work requirements will make the program stronger in the long run.
We want them to be safety nets, not hammocks that people stay in, but getting people on their feet.
Republican Senator Thom Tillis opposes the Medicaid cuts and on Saturday voted against a key procedural vote, though the bill still advanced 51-49. On Sunday, after scathing criticism from President Trump, Tillis announced he won't seek re-election. Asked if there's room in the GOP to disagree with the president.
If you have the courage to, and if you don't, there isn't.
Democrats also objecting to extended tax cuts, part of why the bill's expected to add more than $3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years.
Using fake math and budgetary hocus pocus to make it seem like a gargantuan tax break for billionaires is going to cost virtually nothing. That's insane.
Republicans largely lockstep.
It's going to make us all more prosperous.
Looking to press ahead with the Trump agenda. There is very little margin for error here, and we're expecting to see amendments from senators in both parties, with Republican Susan Collins saying she's leaning against final passage without substantial revisions, as President Trump urged cost-cutting Republicans not to go too far. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Meanwhile, President Trump says he now has a buyer lined up for TikTok, but has not revealed who it is. The president says he'll reveal the buyer in 2 weeks and expects China to approve the sale. A law went into effect 5 months ago requiring the app to be banned if its Chinese parent company didn't sell, but the president has signed 3 orders delaying that enforcement. Remembering the Hortmans this morning. Hundreds of people came to the Basilica of St. Mary on Saturday to say a final goodbye to Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. Family, friends, colleagues, as well as former President Joe Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris, with a eulogy that was delivered by Governor Tim Walz. Senator Hoffman and his family released a new statement following the funeral, calling their service, quote, heartbreakingly beautiful, adding their hearts are with the Hortman family as they grieve and that they are with the family in spirit. The Hoffmans say they're facing a long road ahead as they recover from injuries and emotional trauma.
3, 2, 1.
This weekend, family and community members gathered to honor a young boy who was shot and killed in broad daylight at a Minneapolis park last week. Yesterday afternoon, they held a balloon release and marched in honor of Amir Atkins at the intersection where a Good Samaritan flagged down to police to try to save him. Atkins was shot in the head at Falwell Park on Monday. Police still haven't arrested anyone in connection to his death. Amir's grandma tells us that things have to change.
What happened to Amir was senseless, and it didn't need to happen, you know? Like this gun violence and these kids running around here with guns and adults running around here taking people's lives, that they don't have that right to do. That's up to God.
Amir's grandma tells us she's remembering him as bubbly and energetic and says he touched everyone's lives. In just a few hours here, jury deliberations will begin in Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial. This comes after weeks of testimony wrapped up on Friday. The hip-hop mogul, charged with sex trafficking and racketeering, faces up to life in prison. In North Minneapolis, a new grocery store is on a mission to bring more fresh food to people in the area. Colonial Market is promising to bring more options to the neighborhood, moving into the space on Penn Avenue that Aldi left vacant. The owner tells us it's the first Latino supermarket on the north side and the largest of its kind in the state, with ambitions to become even bigger. This weekend, they hosted a festival for the community where local vendors sold food, clothing, and crafts.
It's a Latino store, but we are making changes to make it at everybody's store. Colonial Market is not just a market. It's a place where you can come and feel free and feel yourself.
The store is expected to host another festival in the coming weeks. Some big changes are coming to state law tomorrow, with several new state laws taking effect. They include new boating law requiring permits for young boaters, lane splitting for motorcycles, and more protections for minors on social media. The cannabis tax rate will also go up to 15%. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.